most of the time we had not had the inclination or the guidance or the opportunity or the desire to question the validity of our thoughts. Because even, I don't know if it's happened to some of you, but even one can even feel in the edge of craziness when one begins to see, is that true what I'm thinking? Well, what am I thinking? So there's a lot of fear around questioning the validity of what we think or what the world look like or what the world say that should be. There is that edge where we navigate between what is normal and what is natural, because what is normal is to think, to live in the world of what even say that is reality, that is true, that is whatever. But there are a natural impulse sometimes through life that doesn't really fully agree or fully understand what this dimension of mind thinking is about. And we face it in many different occasions when we really don't want to keep thinking a thought. And the thought keep hammering. When you want to rest and go to bed, but the activity of thoughts keep you awake. So we begin to question who is ruling this life. Am I ruling this life? Is a thought ruling this life? Who is in control? And I think that eventually every one of us had to come to that place of wondering who is controlling this existence? Who is apparently have the last word? To whom or to what do I submit frequently? What is the discourse that tell me go this way or that way, and that I even get confused because sometimes they are confusing message. There are a thought that say, yes, you should do that. And another thought that say, oh no, you're going against being humble, being compassionate. So we have learned so many systems of beliefs that sometimes when the mind is the ruler, it's very hard to have a decision that is authentically from within ourselves, you know? So that's what I would like to investigate together today. Because most of the information that we have about the investigation, it comes from the spiritual side. It comes from sages who actually begin to investigate in the nature of themselves. It comes from a place of wondering about the world of suffering, or the world of madness, or the world of selfishness. So everyone has been looking into this from that perspective. The science that is what ruled the Western world where we belong had not been putting the attention until lately into understand the functioning. And for that reason, we have a new territory that has been explored and developed about the brain, the capacity of the brain, and how the psychosomatic manifestation, how is that happen? How is that we actually can have symptomatology that are not able to be traced to any physical illness. And then we say, well, look like is in the mind. But when we come to that territory, there are many directions that it become even incomprehensible for us, because most of that explanation demand from us an attitude that we have not developed yet. So when you go into practitioners who work in the body-mind paradigm, they typically wanted for you to relax. And typically it becomes difficult to relax. You don't know, okay, but I'm feeling relaxed. Well, but you still are not fully relaxed. And we will navigate those waters to find, what is she talking about? What are he talking about? Because I feel that I am here looking, present. And very often they are not able to explain to us clearly how to do it. So any one of us who are going in and out a lot of different alternative modalities, sometimes have no even idea what really work, because we don't really fully understand the nature of the mind and the nature of thought. In this particular satsang, I am very interested in explore how is that we become a slave of the thought. How is it that a thought can take away anything from us, can ignite in us incredible amount of anger, sadness, guilt, shame? How is it that one thought can actually be responsible for our emotional state? And not only that, can be even responsible for how we see reality, the world, and ourselves. It is a puzzle. And this inquiry is fundamental. And it's fundamental because closer that we get to have a intimate relationship with a thought, more inapprehensive that becomes, because it is a process of creation that is taking place. And in that process of creation, there is movement. And in movement, there are no necessary a place or a situation where we can see clearly what is that what we're seeing. We enter into that, okay, how is this happening? How is possible that I cannot see with clarity how this mechanism on my own self is happening? It's a puzzle that we are able to study incredible realm of territory and subject matter, but when we come to this one that is almost how we live our life, it becomes so slippery, so easy, it get away, and we get back and we find ourselves frustrated by another thought. So then we are not able to take the distance enough to really see how that first thought change into another thought and into another thought and begin to be a really string of thoughts where we find ourselves many times lost. So is this familiar with some of you, or I am totally on the edge here? So the nature of thought, it can begin to be seen, especially when we begin to look at the content of a thought and what it's saying. And instead to automatically believe that thought, we can pause and check out if it's true, if it's ultimately true. And for that, we require a great degree of honesty in telling us that thought may look true and maybe have been true in certain moment and time, but in this moment, it's not true. So it requires that one stop enough to realize what is really true in this moment. Because a thought that maybe was true 3 minutes ago, maybe is not true now. But if we are totally in the trend to believe every thought like it's true and it's real, we're not going to question. We're not going to take the time to see how real, how is it? The first time that I really came across with in a quote of a book with Ramana Maharshi, when he was saying with such a degree of authority, what preventing you to realize your true nature is one thought only, and is to believe that you are not already realized, that you are not already your true self. Doubt that thought. And I was really very puzzled by that. Well, how that could be that only one thought? That sounds a simplistic answer. But the invitation of Ramana is, don't believe this thought that I'm telling you either. Find out how true is it. So it really opens you to realize that every time that you believe a thought, you close the door. There are no more place for inquiry, because that thought is telling you something that is the truth. You believe it. So you cannot look in any other direction because you already believe that thought. If that makes sense? So slowly we begin to realize, oh my God, I believe this thought that I wasn't good enough. I believe a thought that my life was not fulfilled because I didn't have this and that. So then you begin like to unwind all the areas in our life where believing a thought had closed a door, a window, a possibility. So in that process, we begin to basically undo the beliefs in those thoughts that stayed in us for a long time. And this happened to every one of us. But when we look, for example, in the situation of women who born in a patriarchal system where generally everywhere in the globe, women are less than, less capable, less everything. So the girl being born into this social system that is well established, into a family where they are brothers, at a very early age, she learned a thought that it say that she doesn't deserve the same than the brother, or that she cannot have the freedom to be in the world like a boy. Or she witnessed her father being the one who made all the decisions, who had the power, to which her mother had to submit to. Then she learned a thought that it say that is what women do. And I put in this example because it's an example that we all experience, we all know, and it's so dramatic and in certain degrees so permissive in the world that we live, that it can be very easy seen by that. Because who will believe that because there is a different gender, because the totality divided in the incarnation of creation in a female and a male, to be able to procreate life and create, one is better than the other. You know, when you see from this perspective, you say, but that's insane. This is crazy. But we believe it. Not only we believe it individually and collectively, but we exercise it and we perpetuate it. That is a very typical example of believing one thought closing totally to the reality of existence. So slowly, precariously, we have been by hundreds and hundreds of years to prove this kind of equal gender, because we believe one thought. Does that make sense? So when we transpolate that to a belief that we are a body, mind, and that's the only thing that we are disconnected by our divine nature, not even that we don't even have a divine nature, that we are creation that born in a sinful existence, that we are limited, and that we don't have the opportunity to realize our full potential, our full totality. Because the totality that has been sold to us is to be in the top of the world, is to have more, is to be rich, is to don't have to suffer pain, is to don't even die ever, to prolong this physical life as much as we can, to be young forever. Obviously, it never can be accomplished because it is impossible. So those thoughts that we believe are ruling our life. So it's up to us to begin or debating or investigate more and more the reality of our thoughts. Because there is when we're going to find freedom. Freedom not to get everything that we want, but freedom to reunite. Freedom to bring this opposite aspect of ourselves. Not even bring it, because they are together. They cannot ever be apart. But there is a thought that we believe that said that we are not complete, that we cannot be happy because that belongs only to who have da 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 da, and that we cannot be whole because to be whole is to be holy, and to be holy is to be one of these images that thoughts have created as an idea of being holy. But by investigation and trusting the truth that is within ourselves without a thought, we can begin to realize what means to be whole, what means to be free from believing in thoughts, what means to be free to be who we really are. This is a very balancing kind of understanding, because it put us directly with the capacity in every one of us to explore directly without the interference of thoughts, belief in what is present in me as me in this moment. So this is the kind of exploration that it can allow us, each one of us, to find our own wisdom. Because the wisdom, it doesn't come from a dual existence. It cannot come from one belief to another belief, questioning and fighting between each other. Really, wholeness only can be explored when we find the place where the opposite meet. In that exactly space where the breath coming in and out meet, and when the word and silent meet, where the feminine and the masculine meet, where the mind and the heart meet. In that exactly place is where we see the wholeness that is here right now if I don't believe another thought. Having thought, no problem. Using the mind and thought, no problem. The only complication happens when I believe that that thought is the truth. Because that is when we begin to lie. And sometimes you have seen yourself in situations where you had to prove that that thought is real. Have you? It is like that, and you get reasons to prove to somebody else that your thought is real, and you don't succeed. Even when you go into science, they tell you there are not any theory or any hypothesis or any declaration in science that lasts forever. It's relative. In this moment, yeah, we can think that it's true, but it's not, because it's relative. In the world of thought, there are no ultimate truth, and there are no ultimate reality. So this is the fine line of deepening our inquiry in the nature of thought, and realize what will happen if from this moment you take the journey, if you want to call it like that, to don't believe your thought and see what happens.